Welcome to the Astronomic Exchange. My name is Liz, and I'm your host, and today I'm joined by Jonathan Ellis, founder of brokk.
Brokk is born from my own pain points, building complicated software that isn't a web application. Effectively, there's a ton of AI coding tools out there that work really well if you're building a React app because the models have memorized React. But when you're dealing with an enterprise application, the tools aren't smart enough to pull in the right pieces and the right connections to let the AI work on those effectively. So that's the problem that brokk solves.
Wow. Okay. And what personal pain points were you running into with those tools? Can you be a little more specific with that?
Yeah, I was working at DataStax on the vector search side of the house, and so we'd written a library called JVector to actually do the search, and then integrating that into Apache Cassandra was really the pain point. So JVector itself is only 50-ish thousand lines of code, but Cassandra is over 500,000, and so that's where that complexity comes in. That we really needed smarter tools to be able to understand Cassandra and be able to work with that effectively.
Wow. Okay. And you talk a lot about the semantic understanding versus treating code like text. So for people like myself who aren't deep in engineering every day, why does that distinction actually matter in real workflows?
It's because the LLMs can treat the code as text, and everyone's doing that, and it's reasonably effective because the models do have that basic level understanding. But when you're in this more complex environment, then you can do much more powerful things than just text manipulation. So for instance, in Cassandra, there's 30-ish classes that have a method called getName. And so if the LLM wants to say, I want to find where getName is used, then if it just searches textually for getName, then it's going to find all of the hits for all 30, and disambiguating that becomes something that it now has to do manually, reading each call site to figure out whether it's the getName I was interested in or not. But if I'm using a smarter tool, I can say, I'm looking for index.getName in particular, and the tool can then say, oh, I know what that is because I've parsed the code, and so I know where that belongs and where the actual call sites are that belong to index and not the other 29.
When you're working with all those code bases, what is the hardest technical problem AI runs into? Is it that?
Yes, I think the largest thing is being able to find and understand the connections between things. And you can see this if you're using a text-based tool. You can see that it'll do things like read through a file 100 lines at a time looking for this particular method that its text search told it was there. But if you're using brokk, the LLM just says, give me the source of index.getName, and brokk says, here it is, and you don't have to scan through things 100 lines at a time.
Wow. Okay. And so what breaks first when you try to scale AI tools to true enterprise environments?
What you'll see, like everything breaks all at once is how I would describe it. So you just go from, if you're used to using AI in this, environment like a React application, where it is compartmentalized and it can just say, pull out that route and the code that's related to that route that's all in this subdirectory together. You're used to a certain level of observed competence from the AI, and you just don't get that when you drop it into one of these more interconnected code bases. It spends a lot more time looking for things and often not finding them. More than, you have subtle problems later on, you just have really obvious problems at the start that it's having trouble getting off the ground.
And so what did you have to build differently from the ground up because the LLMs alone weren't enough?
We started with the semantic analysis piece or the syntactical analysis piece that I mentioned. And then we've gone from there with the philosophy of we want to give the LLM higher level and more powerful tools to deal with your code than just the string manipulation.
Okay. So there's a lot of noise right now about AI developers replacing humans entirely. When you hear that, What is your reaction?
I mean, I haven't seen it. What I've seen is that there's definitely the industry hasn't figured out how to train junior engineers in this new world, because what AI. So when AI first came on the scene in the software engineering world, a lot of people thought, well, the AI is so smart, it's going to close the gap between the okay engineers and the junior engineers and the senior engineers and the experienced engineers. And that didn't actually happen. And instead, it's actually magnified the gap, because the senior engineers are able to direct the AI more effectively, and they're able to say, no, actually, they're able to stop it and redirect it. And and the junior engineers, we've hired a couple interns at Brokk, and instinct is to just do what the AI says. And so, that's not what I need, right? No. I need the humans to provide the oversight and the big picture guidance that the AI doesn't necessarily have. And so when I have an intern who's submitting a pull request that's basically I typed it into Brokk and then here's the pull request, like that's not adding value. Like the senior engineers can just have Brokk multitask and do that themselves. I spent a lot of time in my career learning things that are roughly as useful as a slide rule now. So that was, being able to use a slide rule effectively was the mark of a good engineer, 50 years ago in the physical domain, not in software. And that's just obsolete. Like people have barely heard of that now. My knowledge of the details of, the Java Collections API or, Python iter tools, like those are not super relevant anymore, because the AI can do that stuff as well as I can, or better than I can in a lot of places. But my experience of here's how you organize a code base so that you can continue to maintain it effectively and not get stuck in the spaghetti of everything calling everything, that's like more valuable than ever.
Okay, so what surprised you as you've been building Brokk?
So one of the things that's a general principle with working with AI is if you have a way for the AI to correct itself or to recognize that it's made a mistake, something external that says, no, that's wrong, then the AI can almost always fix that problem. And so where you get in trouble with things like the GPT motions is when you don't have something like that, or the thing that's supposed to verify it is the human lawyer, and the human lawyer's lazy. Some AIs are better at certain problems than others, right? So you have OpenAI, you have Anthropic, you have Gemini, and all of those models have been trained on different things, and they've had reinforcement applied to certain behaviors, and they all come out a little bit different. And some of them are better at legal motions, and some of them are better at writing Java code, but the only way to find out which is if you can evaluate them and measure their performance. Like 2 weeks later, maybe 3 weeks later, Google released Gemini 3 Flash. And by the way, like us saying Haiku's like really amazing at what it does, that didn't really surprise anyone, because Anthropic does models that are generally really good at writing code, and this is the newest iteration in a model that's been around for a while. So I don't think that really surprised anyone. But when Gemini 3 Flash came out, we tested it both with the default thinking and with its default thinking settings. It's good, it's really good, but it's also really slow. It spends a long time thinking about what it's going to say. But what's new in Flash 3 that didn't exist before in the older Flash models is you can turn that off and say, don't think about it, just give me the answer. And it turns out that if you graph Flash 3 on speed and performance and price against the other models in this category, it's just completely dominant. It is faster than Haiku. It is smarter than Haiku, and is cheaper than Haiku. Like that just blew my mind. And so yeah, that was something that I'm pleased that I think we were one of the first to realize this and publish it. And I think a lot of people still haven't made that connection.
In your experience, where does pure automation break down?
Where does pure automation break down? You mean like pushing the button and letting the AI do its thing and file law motions without review? I think it comes there's a bunch of problems, but I think the biggest one is one of the things I mentioned earlier is that having the skill or the sense of, given a bunch of solutions that can solve my immediate problem, which one of these is going to make it easier to solve future problems versus which is going to make it more difficult to solve future problems. And that's where you see people talking about the AI causing a bunch of technical debt or spaghetti code because they'll often make the wrong choice. And does that get better as the models improve? I think we would need a fundamental quantum breakthrough that isn't on the horizon right now, as far as I can tell, for it to be able to understand the entire project holistically, because that's what I'm doing when I'm applying my judgment of which of these potential solutions is going to be the best one. I have all of this information in my head about the rest of the project that the model doesn't know about and it can't know about because we can't distill that down to 400,000 or 1 million tokens. We would need 100 million, and we don't. There doesn't seem to be a way to get to 100 million from where we are today.
Wow. And so can you give examples where supervision, a human guiding AI, makes a difference between something usable and something risky?
What sense of risky are you talking about here?
Oh, I mean, all I can think about is law. Like, risky to me is like, again, them drafting a motion with the wrong citations, it going in front of the judge and the judge getting pissed off, which has happened, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen that. My brother's a lawyer, and so he likes sending out look at what this idiot did with GPT.
It's not good, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know much about AI, so in my experience, I argue a lot with GPT on what it's producing and what the outcomes are, especially lately. I feel like I'm constantly arguing with GPT. And is that a lack of human guidance or supervision or bad coding?
So how to use GPT effectively? I think this is something that a lot of people can probably improve on.
So I'm the problem.
No, not necessarily, because there's remember that, deep under the hood, GPT is, it's a really fancy autocomplete. It's an autocomplete that's been trained on all of this code and all of these legal motions, and it knows that given the statement, the problem with the method index.getName is that the next word should be the signature doesn't match what the caller expects. It could predict that based on what it sees and what it started to say. When you're arguing with it, if it's broadly in the right space of doing its autocomplete, then that can be a good way to proceed and say, we're really close, but I want this instead. But if it's completely off base, if it completely misunderstood, or it's giving you back stuff that's irrelevant or not helpful, then it's usually better to just throw away that conversation and start over rather than trying to supplement this conversation with more information, because it's already in the wrong space. And so you're trying to get it back to the right space, but it's less effort for it if you start fresh and get it to that right neighborhood.
How should people think about Brokk compared to other tools like Claude, Copilot, all those things?
I guess my soundbite version is, if you're building enterprise software, then you should be using Brokk.
Oh, wow. And who should not be using Brokk then?
If you're a single developer, you've got a small code base, especially if it's a web application, then, I mean, everyone should be using brokk, but you're probably going to see less difference and less value from brokk than those enterprise developers.
Okay. And so what are Brock's true strategic advantages right now? Or where do you think you still have limitations?
I guess the big limitation with brokk is that it's a different animal. And what I mean by that is that in the software AI space, you have text driven interfaces like Claude Code, and you have IDE forks like Cursor, and brokk isn't either one of those. Brokk is an AI management tool that runs on your desktop, but it's not a text interface. And so basically it's like Claude Code would be if it had a GUI, and that's very confusing for people. And so we're actually working on a text interface to brokk because that's what people are looking for right now.
Is brokk ready to use now? Or
it is, yes.
It is? Okay, cool. And so what do you think the ideal balance between automation and human oversight look like in your mind?
So, I mean, the history of software has been that people who can build it have always been relatively scarce and relatively expensive compared to the demand for all of the software that people would like to bring into existence. And so that's been a bottleneck. And so we're coming up to this world where the availability of human engineers is, if it's still a bottleneck, it's much less of a bottleneck. And we will be able to create 10 times, maybe even 100 times as much software as we were able to in 2022. Mostly that is opening up the path for new things that wouldn't have existed before. So in the case of data stacks and the keynotes I was doing, yes, we had the human artist. And we still have a human artist because we'd be trying to do the highest quality possible job. But for all of these, for every example like that, there's 10 examples where it's like, oh, like I'd like to do this, but I'd have to hire an artist for that, so never mind. And now instead of never mind, it's like, oh, I can do that now. And because the art was a means to an end and not the end in itself for me. And for a lot of projects, the code is the means to an end and not the end in itself. And so I think it unlocks a ton of these kind of, I just want this thing to exist for me, that would never have existed before.
Wow. And I mean, it kind of saves a lot of time and money too, in my opinion. So, okay, we're going to shift gears and we're going to do a quick rapid fire round. Okay. Short answers. Don't think about it too much. What is one AI buzzword you wish would just disappear?
Vibe coding.
Okay. Okay. What's one misconception people have about AI and engineering?
That the AI is replacing humans.
That's me. Hardest lesson you've learned as a founder so far?
I guess so. This is my second startup, but so I'm gonna cover both of them with this answer. But the one that surprised me the most probably is that not everyone wants to work the same way I want to work. So I want to work, very autonomously, very independently. I'll go to my boss when I need direction. But otherwise, like if we never, if our only interaction is telling me about the bugs the customer hit and I'm providing solutions, I'm fine with that. But a lot of people, like, they want to meet weekly, like, and everything going okay? Tell me what I can do better and that kind of thing. So yeah, that was obvious, I guess, in retrospect, but that did surprise me at first.
Okay, in 5 words or less, the future of software development. If you can't do it in 5 words, it's okay.
I mean, it's the Olympics, right? So what is it? Faster, higher, stronger. I mean, it's just so exciting to be where Brokk is a reference to the Norse god of the forge. And because when I'm writing code with AI, I just feel godlike in, I have this army of AI minions doing my will. And yeah, it's just so exciting to be in this space right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the conversation. It has been truly insightful. I learned a lot today, and I hope all the listeners, I don't know which camera is mine, learned a lot, and you guys should definitely check Brokk out and check out what Jonathan is doing. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time.